It's a little loud in my house right now because we have guests. Our friends from Minnesota came in. They got in late last night, and of course we stayed up way too late talking, and of course I cannot sleep in, so I was awake this morning. So they're all up playing, enjoying having friends to play with, and my kids go out, they're like, oh, we need a jacket, it's a little cold. All the Minnesota kids go out, they're like, it's so warm here. Hey dude, what's up? Hey Jojo.
Hello, Mommy. I keep on saying nicely to Mama, how about we just go play on swings, not play dice or kill monster or something.
It's boys for you. So I'm putting a few quiches in the oven for kind of a brunch. The kids ate cereal as soon as they woke up. My kids wake up like starving to death every single morning. Caramelizing some onions. Here, these still have a little ways to go before I can stick them in that quiche. I want them to be good and soft and sweet. I've done a video before talking about quiche, and I will link that down below. Quiche is like one of those very versatile and go-to meals for me. Like, because we always have eggs, whenever you start keeping chickens, you kind of have to get a little creative in how you're going to eat eggs. But it's really, really easy. It's something that you can put together super fast, especially if you already have pie crusts made. And for me, like right now, I have all this leftover turkey from making Jeremiah's birthday dinner, and I already made soup with it. But using the leftovers is really important whenever you're buying sustainably raised meat, because it's expensive, so you don't want to waste anything. And so this is going into these quiches for brunch this morning. Hey, guess who doesn't have a cast on his arm anymore? Me! Alright, we've been sitting at the table eating some breakfast, having some coffee. But I'm gonna go out to the greenhouse and check on things. Ethan and Sarah went downstairs, so it's a good moment for me to step out and take a little look out here. Look at that cheerful place. Y'all, look at this kale that came back from the spring in the back of the Greenstalk Planter. All right. Oh. Salad greens. Looks like everything needs a little bit of water. We're looking kind of dry. We're at about 70, a little over 70 degrees Fahrenheit in here. Just over 23 or so centigrade. Now I could use a watering can for this, and that might even be okay, but since these seeds are all like, they've only been out here 2 days, I want to give them an opportunity to sprout. So I like to water with a cup like this when my seedlings are small, just to make sure that I'm not displacing them. The way I do this, I don't know if it's really the best way, but actually just keep a bucket of water in my greenhouse. And what I'll do a lot of the times, because we get a lot of rain here, is I'll just leave these buckets out on the front porch. Now I'm not doing that whenever it's getting down close to freezing at night, because I don't want it to freeze and break my bucket. So I could leave it in the greenhouse and just fill it up with the hose. But once it gets a little warmer, I just leave it on the front porch and collect rainwater, and that's what I'll water my plants with. But we also have the well out here, so I'm just gonna fill my bucket back up and carry it back into the greenhouse. I also just like to water my salad greens with a cup, because I feel like I can kind of alleviate some of the splashback when I do it this way, and I want to keep these as clean as possible. I need to harvest these again. So I was just looking at these, and I was making sure that my seeds were all covered up for the most part. A couple of them are kind of got a little moved around, but if you look right here, You see that little arugula seed starting to sprout? Give that a little bit of cover. Those can be kind of by the surface and still do okay, so we'll have lots of babies out here soon. So since I posted a video the other day showing that I was starting seeds, I've been getting a lot of messages and questions, people saying, hey, when should I start my seeds here in zone such and such, whatever. It's really less about what zone you're in. That's gonna be kind of a bad gauge on when to start your seeds. That's a roundabout, but I think you probably need to have a more nailed down idea. You really need to figure out when your last frost date is. And you find that just like Google last frost date for your zip code or the closest larger city near to you. Like we live out in the country, so I search for a city that's about 30 minutes away from here because it's a bigger one. But with those searches, I'm able to nail down that my last frost date is April the 1st. And what I do is I start my frost tender stuff like tomatoes and a lot of herbs like basil and different flowers and some different things like that. I start those things February 15th-ish, like about 6 to 8 weeks before that last frost date. That's what I'm looking at. Everything that I started out here the other day, these are all frost hardy varieties. All of these things are going out in my garden to the mid to end of February under cover. These things will not be killed by frost. I'm gonna try to keep the frost off of them with a cover, but they'll be okay in freezing temperatures. So right now you would not want to start anything. Like right now, if I were to start tomatoes now, it might be okay because I have a greenhouse, but I would have to continue potting those up. By the time it was warm enough outside, those things would already have fruit on them. Definitely find out your last frost date and make your decisions based on that. Growing zones are really interesting, and it's a really great way to connect with people and say, oh, this is my zone, and you have a general idea. But like, there are people in zone 7B like me in the Pacific Northwest, in Arizona, on the East Coast. There are people who live in 7B that get a lot of snow in the winter, people who never get snow. It really just depends on what part of the country you're in that some of these factors are going to affect you. So it's very important when it comes to seed starting to make sure you nail down what your last frost date is. And no, it's not exact, it's just an estimation, but that's gonna give you an idea of when you need to have this stuff done by. And keep in mind too that you kind of have different windows depending on what you're doing. Like I have a very short window for when I can actually start these cold weather crops. Like if I were to not be starting these cauliflowers and these cabbages and all of this stuff now in the middle of winter to move out in my garden under cover in February, I probably wouldn't really be able to grow them in the spring because it gets hot here fast. Like by the end of May, we could very well be having 90-degree temperatures in the day. And so all of these things that I'm growing now, they would bolt, go to seed, and I wouldn't get any harvest. So that's why I'm starting these now. But like, it's much less of pressure with the spring garden. I like to start those things early because the earlier you start them, the sooner you get harvest. So absolutely, yeah, I want to start my tomatoes in February, so I start harvesting them in June and July instead of starting them later where I don't get a harvest until later on in the season. But if you're running a little late, then it's not like, oh, the window's closed on you. All right, all that stuff is watered, and I am gonna go back here and check on my other animals.
We'll check the pig.
Check the pig?
Let me go get the food, and then we'll check the pig. You try and go and check the pig without the babies having food, they'll just come up and...
Oh, and I'll pet them and love them. We'll be best friends. Oh, look at those handsome boys. Look at them. Did your ears fall back? You got floppy ears, boy? Oh. This is where I hate playing favoritism. I can't take Connor around the farm. He's still too much of a doofus puppy, but Bear can come. Oh, I'm so sorry, Connie. You are a good, smart boy. You have to one day. Hey, ladies. It's feeding time, so they're all coming up here to get their food. Oh my goodness, why are they so cute? Hey guys. Jeremiah's bringing the food for them. You better stay back or that wire's gonna get you. Stay back, Bear. Hey guys. Hey. So we have isolated Fanny, who is these little babies' mama, because she was trying to kick them off from nursing, but they were really persistent and she was really starting to get way too thin for our liking. So it was time for them to go ahead and wean. She was trying to do it. So we put her up and have been feeding her extra to try to help her put some body weight back on. And here is Clementine, who I am still not convinced that she's not pregnant. She's still got 2.5 weeks left in the window of time that she could be pregnant based on when she was exposed to the boar. And although, you know, it seems kind of unlikely that she is because she was with him for so long, she still, I just don't know. I think she still could be. Hey, little darlings. Hey. Come on. Hey. We're both a little bit nervous about each other. I don't really want them to bite me. They don't really want me to touch them. So what we decided with Clementine, since there is still a possibility that she could be bred, we talked to her friend Jason from Big Bear Homestead, and he said we could put her back with the boar, and basically if he goes after her, we know she's not bred, and if they don't want nothing to do with each other, then she likely is. We decided to wait on that for the next couple of weeks, just because if she doesn't have babies in the next 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, she's not pregnant because she hasn't been with him in that long. If we do put her with him now and she does get pregnant, there's still a chance that it could be quite cold when she's having them. And so we're just gonna wait a couple of weeks, because then if she's not pregnant, she does get bred, we'll be having babies in the spring once it's nice and warm. And that's what we're hoping for. I don't know though. I still think that she could be. Maybe that's wishful thinking. I would like to have some more babies. There's Papa Gerard. Look at that majestic beast. He's gotten so big. Hey, handsome. Hey, handsome. Hey. God, he's huge. Gerard has to have an electric wire on the top as well as around the bottom, because he can actually jump over this fence, and he's no joke. Working on these cleared areas is very high priority for next year. Getting these rocks out and establishing some grass growing in these areas. They just didn't have any grass because we cleared the trees out. But we don't have a ton of space to rotate our animals, but we're gonna rotate them as much as we can to try to utilize the grass growing. Of course, there's nothing growing now because there is some. I mean, it's still some green here, just because it doesn't stay that cold. Right now, a lot of the grass is coming back after that hard freeze we had. Hey girls, how's your breakfast? All right, I'm gonna tuck in the goat barn because it's really windy out there and I don't know that y'all are gonna be able to hear me otherwise. So I have goat fever, something awful right now. Like, we did not nail down a buck to breed our does to for spring. And we had found one that was gonna look like a promising lead, but then Jeremiah had to have the surgery on his hand and that put him down for a little while. And a lot of people will go ahead and breed their does to have their babies in the summer. I don't like to do that. I don't like to have babies beyond like May because, again, it can get really hot here fast and the parasites can go kind of crazy, and I've just not had great success having summer babies. So I decided we're gonna wait. We actually have nailed down a couple of Nubian bucks that we can get here soon, but even still, I'm not gonna breed these does because if I bred them right now, they would be the end of May or the beginning of June having babies. So I've missed the window. We're not gonna breed these does for this coming spring or summer. However, if I wait a few months, I could breed them to have babies in the fall and that would be okay. I really love it whenever we have goats to milk, and that way we don't have to purchase milk off the farm. We can just use that raw milk for our milk usage. And so I've kind of been keeping my eye out for a couple of pregnant does to get who will be kidding in the spring. I'm really hoping that I can find something. However, recently Facebook has like locked down their rules, and so a lot of the groups that I used to buy or sell goats on are no longer in use. And so I'm having a really hard time finding what I'm looking for. We are looking for a couple of bred does. They don't have to be registered. They're just for our home dairy needs. We're not going to show them or anything like that. We're not into that. I think it's awesome. I don't have the time. And so I'm really just looking for good milkers for my home dairy, probably 2. Specifically La Manchas is what we're looking for, but I may be open to Nubians because I do love them and we do have those. So that's where I'm at. So I don't know. I figured I'd throw it out there. I've been having a hard time and I have goat fever really bad. Another thing that I've been kind of considering doing something about is my other greenhouse is a hot mess. Look at this rosemary. I thought this thing was dead. Pulled it out of the pot. So that's literally just the plug of dirt from the pot and set it there and it came back. I've honestly thought about just building up some bricks around it and filling it the rest of the way up with soil and letting this just be established here. I mean, it's stuck. Like if I were to pull on this, I'd be pulling roots out of the ground. But it's growing, so. Oh. Oh, I'll keep it real and show y'all my mess. Honestly, kind of feel bad coming out here and seeing how rough this greenhouse looks because it was like my first greenhouse love and I've abandoned it. At some point, over the next like month and a half, we will come overhaul this space and reclaim it and make it nice again. Obviously a lot of stuff just got left in here. It's kind of just been storage. We will, however, make this nice before probably March. Probably as I'm starting peppers and tomatoes and stuff, this will be where we expand out into. This greenhouse is harder to keep warm than the other one. So this one does, it gives a little bit of a boost and on a warm day it's great, but this is really more for just a little bit of light season extension, whereas that one stays very warm, the glass one. So I'm gonna rely more heavily on the glass one, but I'm not gonna totally abandon this one for long. When I walk around the farm in the winter and my spring to-do list begins to mount, especially when it's like a warmish day like this, I have a tendency to get like, oh my goodness, there's so much to do, and I start to feel a little bit like nervous about it or whatever. And then I have to stop and be like, chill out, it's December. Like, it's the last day of December, but still, there's time. There's still time. There's no reason to be worried about it. It's winter. Still, I have to stay in the season. I'm so bad about hopping into what's next, but I do feel very excited. Warmish days make me very, very excited for spring. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today. We hope you have a wonderful New Year's Eve and that 2020 is full of blessings for you. We're so excited to go into this next year and so thankful for everything that has transpired over this last year. We're excited to get to spend tonight with our friends, and because I have to lean into my corny jokes, I will see you all next year. I bless you. Until next time.